It's Material Issues with David Bash of the International Pop Overthrow Festival and Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. Featuring the Win Some, Lose Some Orchestra. Introducing the Rolf Sandstorm Dancers. Episode number 99 with special guest Debora Iyall of Romeo Void. They need no introduction because they already know each other. Here's David and Mark. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode number 99 of Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. Joining me, as he usually does, every Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, my good friend from out in the West Coast and the president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival, it's David Bash. David, how are you feeling this evening?
I'm doing okay this afternoon, Mark.
I know it's evening for me, early evening. It's afternoon for you and everybody else. It's somewhere in between. But of course, our UK watchers, they always check in from relatively late at night. It's 11 o'clock over in London town.
Yeah, Andy Hartley, if you're here yet.
Andy's probably here. A couple of people that always check in. So, yeah, this is exciting. This is a great episode. Not only is it number 99 with an incredible guest, as people might have seen in the opening there, but we're creeping up to 100 episodes next week. And
it really is amazing.
We're going to put something together that's kind of fun and interesting with some former guests and friends, hopefully. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a great day here in South Jersey. And I've been looking forward.
You're like 20 degrees warmer than we are.
Yeah. We clocked in around 80 degrees, 82 degrees here, I think top end, which is great when you're just outside of Philadelphia. But,
we still haven't had a really strong, long warm streak. It's been amazing. We've had a few days in the 70s recently, but that's it. And maybe low 80s, maybe. Yeah. And we're not going to have any for a little while again. So, yeah. I mean, eventually this will break, and then we'll be pining for the days of cool weather because it'll be like 100 every day for a while, probably.
Yeah, indeed.
But, until then, we'll do what we can. In the meantime, IPOLA is almost booked. I think this may be the earliest that I've ever booked the whole thing.
Wow.
Of course, back in the day, we used to have about 150 bands in LA. That was before I started doing them in other cities on the West Coast. And the festival was like 16 days long, which was probably too long. But hell, I wanted these bands there, and this was the only way we could make it work. So, so it was that way. Now we only have about 66 bands. I say only, but relative to what it used to be. And but yeah, we've a whole bunch of old friends and a whole bunch of new ones also. So that's always fun. We've got Chicago coming up in 9 days at Montrose Saloon from the 21st through 29th. And then, of course, from May 28th through June 4th, IPO Liverpool, our 18th year at the Cavern.
Yep.
And then we will be in Copenhagen for the first time ever on June 10th and 11th at the Drop In. So we're really looking forward to going to those places. And
I was thinking of dropping in and surprising you in Copenhagen.
Please.
I thought maybe I'd fly over and just walk up behind you and say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" That would surprise you.
It would freak me out.
I did that once in Liverpool. We might do it again.
A couple of people. Sherman Boyne. You know Sherman, right? He did that a couple of times. I think once in Chicago and once in Liverpool.
Nice.
So anyway, got a couple of new reissues to talk about before we bring on our guest. Band the Len Price 3.
Great band.
One of the best modern mod power pop bands around from the Medway. Len Price 3, Chinese Burn. This was their first album. Only came out on CD originally. Now, Wicked Cool, label very, very well.
Stevie Van Zandt,
has deigned to do this vinyl reissue, which I haven't opened yet, but it's a gatefold, which is really cool. Nice. You know what? Let's unbox right now.
let's unbox Len Price 3's Chinese Burn, first time on vinyl.
First time on vinyl, and
Look at
let's see what the gatefold looks like. Oh, very nice. Lots of photos. Anything at the cavern? Let's see.
What year were they at the cavern with IPO?
They've been at the cavern several times from like 08 until, and this year they'll be back. So yeah, usually every other year or sometimes every 3 years. Yeah, no cavern pictures, but that's okay. We'll get one this year for their next album. How's that?
There you go.
But yeah, it's in mono too. I forgot about that.
Oh wow.
The album was always in mono. So 15 short but very, very sweet, powerful mod, very hooky stuff.
I love Len Price 3.
And so I think
everybody go out and get that.
Yeah. Cool has done a CD of it as well with some bonus tracks.
Yeah.
So you might want to check that out. The other thing is, I'm not going to unbox this because it was too unwieldy. That new box set on Madfish Records by the 70s prog pop band Horselips.
Horselips, wow. That's huge.
More Than You Can Chew, which is one of their songs. That's what it's called.
Wow.
And this certainly is more than you can chew. It's got all their albums plus tons and tons of live stuff and outtakes and everything, and about 160-page book. I just got this. So
you can give us a review in 6 months when you get through it.
I know, really. It's about how long it'll take. But if you're into prog pop from the 70s, a little bit of traditional folk influence as well, that Irish folk sound. Horselips is definitely for you. So anyway, there it is.
Nice.
So I got it through, of all places, Walmart. Nobody would expect that. Where'd you get your Horselips box?
Walmart.
Amoeba, at Rough Trade. No, Walmart. Yeah, it was on the shelf with Ariana Grande and
so you had to choose one, and you went with Horselips. Okay, yeah. Nice.
No, it was online, not at Walmart physical, but still, I mean, who knew they would carry something? And also, they had it cheaper than everybody else.
That's awesome.
So it's like, hey, why not? So we got that, and we could talk about a lot of other stuff, but that's not what we're here for today. We did 3 straight episodes with just the two of us, to quote Bill Withers. And now we have a guest again, and we're very, very honored to have her, the lead singer of the great new wave band, Romeo Void. And I know that, some people, there was always a question, should they be called new wave? Should they be called punk? Should they be called rock? Whatever. I see them as new wave. That's me. I mean, not everybody will agree with me, but certainly they were right there at the beginnings of MTV, and they had 2 really, really well-known videos of Never Say Never, otherwise known as I Might Like You Better If We Slept Together, and A Girl in Trouble is a temporary thing. Both videos on MTV got rotation, 3 albums. And then she has done a few solo records as well. She's a very proud Native American. She's an artist. She's been a teacher for many years. And she's just a really super lady. And I'm glad to have finally met her. So without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Debora Iyall.
You are so gracious. Thank you. I can hear you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here.
You speaking. Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm really happy that Liberation Hall decided to put out a live record of ours, and that there really appears to be interest. I mean, you guys are having me on, am I right?
Yes, indeed.
We lied, Debora. This is over. We'll see you later.
Well, I mean, before we get into anything else, that's one of the big things happening. Record Store Day is April 22nd. And for the first time,
coming right up.
Yeah, in a very long time, there's going to be a brand new Romeo Void release on Liberation Hall. And I just want to pop up the cover. Right there it is. Live from Mubahay Gardens, November 14th, 1980. And that's pre Never Say Never. You know,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
yeah,
It was It's a Condition. The entire album had not been recorded.
which is amazing because when I first heard about a new record store day release from Romeo Void, you know, immediately you're thinking, well, what's, you know, is there going to be live? Is it going to be Never Say Never, or is it going to be later? And it's not, but it's in such an interesting release because it's early Romeo Void that a lot of people aren't familiar with, and
Right.
it's edgier, it's a little more rocker, it's just a little, you know, it's a peek into how you were becoming Romeo Void. And if you're a fan of the band, there's only 1,500 copies going to be available on Record Store Day. So make sure you get in line at any of your record shop and you pick up the new Romeo Void.
And it's on beautiful blue vinyl.
Oh,
Nice.
where was Mabuhay Gardens, or where is it?
Mabuhay.
Mabuhay.
Mabuhay Gardens was in
Mabuhay Gardens. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mabuhay on Broadway in San Francisco. So there were strip clubs, a couple of great Italian restaurants, you know, and a couple of live venues. At Mabuhay Gardens was once like a, you know, 50s supper club, you know, with a Filipino theme and food. And then they still were serving food at the beginning days of Mabuhay. I'm pretty sure when the punk bands were playing there, but the bands didn't start till 11 at night. So,
wow.
So it had, you know, kind of a very modest stage. I think it held maybe 200, 250 people. So it was not a huge room, but music 7 nights a week.
Wow. And that's would you say that's a venue that really gave you as Romeo Void your start, your jump?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And, you know, we would open for other bands. And so I'm pretty sure at this point, at 1980, November 14th, we were not the headliner. We were probably either middle slot or opening.
Yeah. But somebody recorded
Red Devil
it.
Lounge. Did you ever play at Red Devil Lounge in San Francisco?
Not until, you know, that was, I think, the first thing I did, I think, was a benefit for Paul Williams from Crawdaddy magazine.
Oh, yeah.
After he had gotten his traumatic brain injury. And Cindy Lee Berryhill contacted me.
Right.
And, you know, I completely admire her and her talent and
she's great,
songwriting, and, you know, feel very friendly toward her, a lot of kinship. And she asked if we would help out, and we were happy to do it. And then we also did a benefit for Haiti, and that was when I had this group called DIG, Debora Iyall Group.
Oh.
So I always kind of try to have something going on because, you know, I really always just really love to sing. And whether it was writing my own material, you know, which I've done a lot of, or, you know, right now I'm kind of doing a covers thing, and I'm really loving that. You know, I like to keep my hand in.
Well, can I
just tell you enjoy yourself?
Or my voice in, I guess.
Your voice in. Can I just interject something, though? I mean, you've already told us the name of your cover project, but I thought to myself, you know, if you were going to do something like that, instead of calling, you know, Romeo Void, you'd go to the complete opposite and call yourself Juliet Valid. Juliet is the opposite of Romeo, and Valid is the opposite of Void. So Juliet Valid could be your new nom de plume.
Well, you know, thank you for your suggestion.
I'm just having fun with it.
We can tell you enjoy singing. We can definitely tell you enjoy. Just watch your appearance on American Bandstand. I don't think I've ever seen somebody so happy.
It was special, you know, because I grew up watching American Bandstand, you know, and Dick Clark, you know, is huge, and he was so gracious and so friendly. He came by our dressing room before the show, introduced himself, asked us and listened how to say our names correctly. And he did the same thing with the band we were performing on, you know, with that night, or that day, New Edition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he did that with everyone backstage, made everybody feel very welcome and very comfortable. And, you know, it was really fun, that little moment that when I made him laugh and he kind of, his body undulated, kind of.
Really?
It was awesome. So it's like something I'm very proud that I was able to do in my lifetime.
Oh, it's awesome.
You just have that effect on men. That's
well, you do. I mean, you talked about loving life and enjoying the moment and being in the day, and I could tell already just through our conversations back and forth and seeing you live that you just sparkle with life energy, and I mean, good on you for it, as they say. And
well, thank you. And I think it wasn't always this way,
Nope.
but I'm so grateful,
Yeah.
So there you are. I enjoy life. I've always felt pleasure very deeply, and I'm still trying to have those moments every single day.
Nice. If we rewind a bit, Debora.
Sure. Yeah.
What was your upbringing like? How did music come into your life? Were you surrounded by?
I always loved songs and lyrics.
Okay.
So my sister and I used to ride our bikes around, and we would make up hand movements while we were riding our bikes, because of course we were such good bike riders, we didn't need to use the handlebars. I'm gonna knock on your door, ring on your bell. We would sing, and I always just loved singing, and so that's how that happened. But I also wanted to see every band that came out. So when Jefferson Airplane played at the roller rink down the street from us, I was probably 12 and my sister was 14, so I got to go with her. And sometimes she would get to go to things because she was taking me. It's got to be safe. I'm not just meeting a guy, Mom, because I'm taking Debbie. That was what I was known as. And but then usually she'd ditch me, and then we'd find each other at the end of the show, because she really was meeting boys. That's just how we do in my family.
Was on with Jefferson Airplane, though? I mean, if they were playing a roller rink, what year would that have been?
Okay, I was 12 in 68.
We never told them there'd be math involved.
66.
So was Sinya Anderson still with the group, or was Grace there yet?
You'll have to tell me.
I don't know.
I'm not the one who would remember. I was like 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
Did you come from a musical family?
Pardon?
Did you come from a musical family?
No, not particularly, but my mom loved records.
Right.
She had great records. She had Lena Horne, Julie London, lots of Frank Sinatra, Barbara Streisand. We grew up listening to records and buying records at Rudy's Five and Dime, which was, at the local shopping center. So I actually had a pretty suburban, upbringing, except for the fact that my mom was divorced. So we had, like a single parent household. That was more unusual in those days, quite a bit, really.
Sure.
And, we'd ride our bikes and we'd go, down to the ditch and get frogs, and try to bring them home and raise them, and then finally let them go in the garden, because what are we doing with all these poor little wild frogs and stuff?
Were you around for the opening of Tower Records on Columbus?
Well, I didn't live in San Francisco. I lived in Fresno, so I don't.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure about Tower Records. We had a record store down on the Fresno Mall, though, and I bought my first records there. I bought Double Shot of My Baby's Love there as a 45.
Wow.
And then of course I had the Vogues, Just a Little, and them. Records and things like that. I remember buying records also just from the cover. So I remember buying Fleetwood Mac when it was Peter Green, the one with the garbage can on the cover.
Right.
That is
very bluesy. Yeah, but I just thought, oh, this looks cool, because I didn't necessarily read any music mags or anything. So it was just sort of what you saw at the record store that looked good.
Yeah.
I remember buying Switched on Bach. Which is now, she just had an anniversary because, the woman who recorded that, really started the whole electronic music from the technical side.
Wendy Carlos,
She was a total brain. And I used to play that alongside Absolutely Free by Frank Zappa.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you had eclectic taste and
I really
way
did.
ahead of your time also.
Well, I just didn't have any boundaries, and we had such good radio when I was a kid. We'd hear everything from Motown stuff, girl groups, Leslie Gore. Who was I just singing the other day? I like to sing in the pool if the music's not too loud at the pool already where I go swimming. End of the World. Don't they know?
Skeeter Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Skeeter Davis. Yeah. So I just loved, music. And we always had teenage babysitters. And my mom, had to have babysitters because she was working all the time. And so we always had, in Fresno, it was Kino, Kyno. We always had that on in the kitchen. It was right above, when you look out, how you often have a window over the sink in the kitchen.
Right.
That's where the radio lived. So wow. It was always on,
And how could you?
So I
don't know how you could possibly pick out an album of cover songs to do, because I could hear you doing so many fantastic 60s songs.
I am having so much fun. Okay, so just tease you a little bit with it. So one of the first songs I wanted to learn was Someday Soon, Judy Collins' song, because of where I was moving and where we moved here in New Mexico, which is a new place for me, northern New Mexico, because I thought, the audience in Raton is going to love this song. Anything a little more country rock, they're going to like out here. And I love that song since I was a kid. I didn't even have to look up the lyrics, because that was always what I knew, is the lyrics to all the songs. And so that was one we learned. And one of my husband's favorite songs was Sentimental Lady.
Oh, yeah, by
Fleetwood Mac did a version, but then
that's the best version.
Yep.
Pardon?
Bob Welch from Fleetwood Mac had the hit with it.
That's right.
But Fleetwood Mac's version, that's the one.
Yeah, and once I was a little bit scared to learn it because it seemed like this is kind of a tricky melody, and it's such a beautiful pop song. Oh my gosh, and but I learned it, so my skills have grown over the last year, and we started doing music because the carpenter, who was my husband's very good friend in elementary school, and they've known each other all these years, is also a guitarist. So he'd come down from Palmer Lake, Colorado, which is a couple hours north of here. He would come down for like a week at a time and help us fix up our house.
Oh, wow. So
our new place here in New Mexico is because I retired from public school teaching. And so
it's an awesome segue into I wanted to ask you about the cover bands, but going back, rewinding, at what point did you start writing lyrics with an intent of maybe I could write music or get into a band and start singing? Or at what age did this kind of turn on?
Oh gosh, how old was I? 23 or something like that. And I wanted to write my own stuff. I had already been writing poetry for many years. In fact, I quit high school, but I started taking poetry classes at Fresno State. So even though I didn't have, high school diploma, I just went over to the college and got the class register, the college, what do you call it? Like calendar of classes, whatever. And I just showed up on the first day and introduced myself. And they're like, "You're not on the roster." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just here because, I want to learn." So I, loved poetry and reading. My mom was really a reader. So we read all the books she read. Fahrenheit 451 and Brave New World, Steppenwolf, Animal Farm, books by Alan Watts. So I was reading that kind of stuff when I was like 10, 12 years old. So whatever she was reading, I would want to read. So I guess I came into it from that side. And then Frank and I, the bass player, we met at lunch. I was working in the video lab because I was in the video performance department. That was my major at art college. And he was in the gallery working, putting up a great big installation, and he's a carpenter of a Alice Aycock sculpture. And so we would meet at lunch, and then after a while, I was like, well, I'm kind of doing this thing with my poems and stuff. Maybe, and I found out, he had a bass guitar and a drum machine, and I was thinking, oh, like Young Marble Giants, why don't you come over, to the video studio and let's see what we can put together. So right away, I went to write our own stuff.
This was at San Francisco Art Institute?
That's right.
Okay.
Which is now closed down.
Oh.
After, maybe 100 years, it was open.
I was sorry to interrupt, but I was a psychology teacher prior to doing my music festival, and my first job out of grad school was at the Art Institute of Southern California down in Laguna in Laguna Beach. And so I was teaching art students something that was very, very academic, and it was a trial by fire because I knew how to teach grad students who were very academically oriented, and then I have these art students who are much more, obviously much more right-brained. So it was
nonlinear.
Nonlinear. Very good. And it was,
I can see them wanting to turn in an art project instead of a paper.
I had that. Well, that's what I had them do.
Absolutely, because I would have wanted to do that probably.
No, they were great.
Oh, you want psychology? I'll show you psychology.
No.
Here's a drawing I did.
I knew enough to do that rather than to ask them to write a paper.
Here's my painting of psychology. I love it. Well, at what point did you've mentioned that earlier? You were Debbie or Debora. I know you at some point you dropped the H and you wanted to go with a more exotic sounding name.
I became Debora.
Yeah.
Well, that happened because I had gotten in a car accident at 16, and so I'd gone to Europe at about 17, I think. I don't even know if I was 18 yet. And everyone there, Debbie is like very juvenile. So when I introduced myself, oh, my name's Debbie, they're like, oh no, you're Debora.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, I am Debora, But then I came home and I just thought, I don't want to be Debbie anymore. And I moved to a new town and I was going to a new job interview. And so I was talking to a friend of mine who was a poet. And I said, what am I going to do about my name? I don't want to be Debbie anymore, but I don't like the sound of Deborah. And she said, well, why don't you just pronounce it Debora? That's the Hebrew enunciation. And that was close enough to Debora because I knew Americans are never going to say Debora like they did in Europe. So, I just made it. I created it myself.
Do you have any?
And then I dropped the H very quickly because, excuse me.
Do you have any Israeli in your background? Because my father's side of the family is all from Israel.
I have a poet in my background.
Okay, there you go.
I wish I could remember her last name too. Her first name was Jane. She just lived down the way from me, so we were friends.
So what was the genesis then of Romeo Void? You were hanging out with Frank Zinkavich,
Frank
right?
And I.
Bass player and whatnot. How did the rest of Romeo Void come into being?
Well, Peter and I knew each other because I had joined. Sorry, I'm clicking my heels because I'm trying to remember his last. Charlie Hagen, the bass player from the Mutants. I had joined his side band called the Mummers and Poppers. And the lead singer for the Mummers and Poppers was from Philadelphia, where there are mummer parades.
Right.
It's this whole thing. And so they had named the band the Mummers and Poppers, and my friend Rachel Weber, who later became in the Units.
Okay. Yeah.
The synthesizer band. Yeah. Okay.
I remember.
Just want to make sure you knew who the Units were.
Oh, yeah.
Her and I were really good.
I still see that album a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think they were putting out something for Record Store Day, honestly.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, and they met him and Rachel and her husband Scott. They met back in art college. He was a film student, and her and I forget what we were taking, probably a drawing class or something together. We just, got close. And so we sort of joined the band together. Okay, we're the backup singers. I didn't even know how to sing harmony. I still don't. But nobody seemed to care that much. Just sing along. And, I think Rachel knew how to sing harmony. So I just sang whatever sounded good in the moment. And we did songs like Billy was a really great singer. So he could do I Feel Good, James Brown, 300 Pounds of Heavenly Joy. And then us girls sang Boys from New York City.
Oh.
And Peter Woods, our guitarist, used to sing Time Won't Let Me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew Peter from that band, so Charlie's band. So after Frank and I were working, I said to Frank, I do know this guitar player, and he's not like a wheelie, 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 player guy. He likes rhythm guitar. His favorite guitarist is George Harrison. So that might be a really good fit, because we're not looking for somebody who wants to wheelie, wheelie, wheelie.
Wheelie.
Right.
I mean, in my day, music snob that I was, and try not to be so much anymore, I had no use for thinking that a band being tight was the epitome.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted, how does it feel? So even though musicians really honestly, were super talented that I loved, I really went for much more emotional players and songs. And
you showed up at the right time, because, the punk and new wave was coming about, and there was so much more about that. It was obviously anathema to arena rock, where everything was about being tight and absolutely perfect. So you came along just at the right time for that.
Right. And Weather Report, I remember. I mean, nothing wrong about Weather Report. They're amazing. And Wayne Shorter, hello, rest in peace. He's amazing. Benjamin, Romeo Void saxist, loved Wayne Shorter. So, I liked the jazz singers. I had lots of Billie Holiday records and some Sarah Vaughan. And then I also just really always loved Etta James.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Well,
Frank and I invited Peter to come in, and there was the drummer for Charlie's band, us mummers and poppers, was Jay Dara, who plays on this record. So he was our first drummer. So that's how we got our band together, and we performed and wrote songs, for a while before we even met Benjamin.
And you caught the ear of Rick Ocasek of the Cars. And
amazingly enough,
which is amazing. And to interject another quick little story, when I went on my honeymoon in 1988, I was sitting on a plane with my new bride, who's no longer my bride anymore, but we'll give her that. And we're sitting next to on a little 12-seater.
First one doesn't always last.
I know. We were on a 12-seater plane going from St. Martin to St. Bart's, and sitting next to us was Rick Ocasek and Paulina Poditskova.
Wow.
And of course, I'm chatting. And the only thing that came to my mind in my trying to be cool was, so you were involved with Romeo Void.
Wow.
And he basically said, yeah, I love that band. And I don't think he wanted, I don't think he wanted, to be in a big conversation with some guy sitting next to him on the plane when he's there with Paulina. But we did talk Romeo Void briefly. And he was really taken by your bands, which I think you already know that, but quite something.
Well,
and
it's still good to hear it.
It's still good to hear it. And I think even more amazing was all the songs that he originally heard of Romeo Void. Never Say Never was not one originally that you guys took to him.
No, because we didn't consider it finished yet. And so that was the kind of song we were working out at sound check, and we played it the night after we finished recording at Synchro Sound, which is the Cars studio in Boston. The night after we finished recording, we played a gig there, and we played Never Say Never as an encore, because you could do that, a song you haven't finished yet. And we knew it had a great groove. because honestly, Larry Carter brought that groove, and we were, sunk in with that bass line and that groove. And then we hadn't really formed, what are the verses and how long are they and what is the chorus specifically for sure. I had all the lyrics there pretty much that were in the song, but they hadn't been arranged in any way. It was just kind of like, let's just go for it, And Benjamin loved the spontaneity. So Benjamin was definitely one of those people who loved the improvisation of just, me showing up with lyrics and, kind of creating a melody on the spot.
But that's a very, there's two things about that track, specifically the guitar sound, which is what blew my mind standing in Danceteria, New York City in 1982 when this track came on.
It's the definition of angular.
Angular, yes. Yeah. I was into bands like Gang of Four and bands like that where the guitar work was angular. But this thing came on and it just blew me away. And then Benjamin's saxophone just sent chills up your spine. And the song has stayed with me for 41 years now, however long it's been. And the very next day I was in New York City on a Friday night at Danceteria. Never Say Never came on. And the next morning I went to Bleecker Bob's and I said, I have to have this song. I think it's called I Might Like You Better If We Slept Together.
Everyone must have made that mistake.
The DJ didn't say what it was. You just knew that.
Never say never. It's okay.
Never. But
that Justin Bieber song.
Yeah,
right.
Justin Bieber song. And I went to the counter and I said, I got to have this song. And he said, no. That's Romeo Void. It's Never Say Never. Here's the EP, which was out. I bought that. And I bought Medium was also big for me with So Hungry, So Angry.
Oh, yeah.
And that also had the saxophone. You did, because I was at the show at City Gardens in New Jersey when you played.
That was a wonderful venue.
Yes, my good friend Randy
I
was
loved it. It was
promoter.
freezing cold. I remember it was freezing cold, but it was a great venue, great crowd.
That's because I think it was November, December. There's Peppermint Lounge, Washington Electric Factory, some of the things I pulled up.
There it is.
But City Gardens was Trenton, New Jersey. I think it was right after Thanksgiving or early December of 82. Yeah. And Medium, Romeo Void.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it's just it's killed me ever since. But thank goodness that dance hit. And it really was a great dance hit. It had, like you said, such a groove, Yeah. Whenever you hear that
but interestingly though, it's not a song that showed off how beautiful your voice is. So some people probably
but my attitude,
it did show that off. Sure.
That song. Yeah.
Where were some of the places in San Francisco you used to play a lot back in the day?
Well, definitely the Mabuhay Gardens. And then there was the Off-Broadway, which was more of a theater that was upstairs above the Mabuhay Gardens. The Stone. We played the after party at the Mutants Loft the first time the Go-Go's played San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
So we were playing warehouse parties, loft parties, whatever. Our whole philosophy was don't turn down any gigs. That's how you get it.
It's a great idea. You just got to keep playing and get better.
Just keep saying yes.
Did you play shows with the Avengers?
They inspired me, especially seeing Penelope on stage, so powerful and so interesting. And when I went to the San Francisco Art Institute, she had quit going there the year before I started. And so her locker was still painted in red paint, the lyrics to We Are the One. And then I saw her at Mabuhay Gardens and I thought, I have something to say. I can do this.
Oh, wow.
For sure. I'd love Patti Smith, but I think I was intimidated because she seemed like, even though she was kind of non-binary, I guess that would be the term,
Right.
is maybe considered something else then, but
androgynous. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word. I still felt like she had that real rock star skinniness, and so I didn't think, oh, I can do that, because she still represented like the unattainable. But I guess seeing Penelope, it just made me, because I saw her around town, and I saw her at other bands shows and stuff, and then there she got up on stage, and she grabbed the mic and shook the crowd with her voice and her attitude and her opinions. She's very opinionated in her songs, and I loved it. And I was like, I can do that. I have something to say. So
that's really cool. I had no idea. I was shocked 10 years later when she came out with her first solo album for two reasons.
I know.
One, I had no idea she could sing that well. She was doing a lot more folky rock material with some really nice production. The other thing, she was such a striking looking woman. She was doing the Billy Idol thing early on, and then you see her with long flowing hair and that face, like, wow, she's a beauty, and what a talent. What an amazing talent.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, her and I and another person, Judy Gittleson from the Inflatable Boy Clams.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Absolutely. We all had a painting show together last summer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Judy Gittleson now owns a gallery, and so she wanted to put us all three together as punk painters. So I'm slightly in touch with them.
Did you want to be labeled as anything with Romeo Void? Did you want to be punk? Did you want to be new wave? Did you want to be rock and roll?
Well, see, I always felt like the West Coast, or maybe it was just America, really wanted to pigeonhole what punk was. But my understanding is it could be punk, and it could be television or Talking Heads, or the Dead Boys, or Patti Smith. All of those bands were really different from each other, but it was all like at CBGB's and a punk club. So I felt like we didn't have to be regimented. I certainly loved like Susie and the Banshees, and the Pretenders, X-Ray Specs, oh, bondage up yours, yeah.
You played with Pylon. That was another good band.
Oh, I love Pylon. We got to play the Peppermint Lounge with Pylon.
You got to play the Peppermint Lounge with Pylon. That is, hold on. There it is.
I'm going to contact you when I'm ready to put out my memoir, because you have the stuff that I sort of want to include.
I'm actually reading a book now on the Peppermint Lounge. It has quite a history.
Oh yeah, indeed. That was my stomping grounds. You played the Chestnut Cabaret in Philly, so we'd come down to Chestnut Cabaret, East Side Club. We'd go up to Trenton to City Gardens. Then we'd head up to New York. It'd be the Peppermint Lounge. It'd be the Ritz. You played the Ritz.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As well.
We played the Ritz with orchestral maneuvers in the dark.
Oh wow!
Yes, I was at that show, and a week before that, I believe Our Daughter's Wedding had played there, which was another band that I just
Bay Area band,
yeah, very much, yeah. See, you're right in my wheelhouse, Debora.
Holy crap!
That's why I was so excited about this interview. This was my. Well, not youth. It would be.
We were from the last millennium.
Yeah.
That's what I think of it as.
How did you get signed to 415?
Well, honestly, Howie brought Lester Bangs to a sound check. So we were opening for SVT, I think. That was Jack Cassidy's, sort of punk band.
Yeah.
And we were opening for them, but we got a sound check. And he was there with Lester Bangs, and Lester Bangs told him, "You've got to sign these people right away. This is great." So I remember seeing them and wondering, who is that really drunk guy with Howie? Howie was like at all the shows, bopping his head in his leather jacket. He's a very familiar person on, on the scene every night practically. And yeah.
Yeah, by that point, Lester had to be in pretty bad shape, unfortunately.
Yeah, but he, still had the right idea.
He definitely had the right idea, getting you signed, yeah.
And then how we approached us, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
How we approached us as to do a 45, a single. And Frank, our bass player, said, tell him that we want to do an album and to talk to us in another 6 months. Because we didn't want to just do a singles deal, And he thought we were going to have more than that to offer up, and that
that's ballsy.
Yeah. Anybody, wanting to, put out a record by you seemed like, oh, that was a huge deal. And I remember thinking, okay, but Frank has great instincts about, preserving, the integrity of the musician and, keeping that elevated, that what we're doing is special. If it's so worthless to you, then why do you buy records? Why do you listen to the radio? You just make your own music. You know what I mean? Yeah. He really wanted to let people know, there's art behind this. And I always felt like Romeo Void, we were trying to make art. We weren't trying to make our image up as rock stars. We were more in sort of the art school vein. You show up at the gig the way you dress in life, or maybe a little more creatively.
In a white sweater, yeah.
Yeah.
But you were okay.
Did have a limp white sweater.
You were okay with becoming. You were okay with becoming famous, though, right? If it was to happen.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, in some ways, it was kind of shocking in not a great way, because after my social life in junior high, and I only went to my sophomore year of high school, then I quit high school. I remember looking out at a crowd in Santa Barbara that were there to see, at the college. We played at the college in Santa Barbara, and just thinking, these are all the kids that hated me in high school. What are they doing here? I didn't trust them or me. What did I do wrong that now they want to come see my band?
Wow. Yeah. But, that's a heavy thing.
It was, yeah.
No, I can empathize, Debora, because I was overweight in high school, still am. I mean, my weight has gone up and down. I had a really bad case of acne. I was shy as hell, barely talked to girls, and didn't have many male friends either. It was tough, and I think I've become a swan. I went, doing this music festival, having lots of friends now. I so wanted to go back to my high school reunion in my 40th. And at that time, I actually was thinner. I had lost a lot of weight. I just had a heart attack, actually. Lost a whole bunch of weight, which I put on, unfortunately. But I wanted to walk in with like a Gene Clark fringe jacket and a really cool hat and tell everybody what I was doing, because those same people who used to make fun of me would now be saying, "Oh my God, your job is so much cooler than mine." Right. Didn't make it though. It would have been really expensive to fly back to New York and all that stuff. But
sure.
I know how you feel, and you got your comeuppance, because, as you said, those people now were admiring you as well. They should have.
It was, it was very interesting.
Yeah, and you're getting back to Romeo Void, but we talked about the guitar sound, but we really haven't talked that much about Benjamin Bossi, whose saxophone just, that to me, there's Romeo Void's defined to me by three things. Number one, you have an incredible voice, you have an incredible presence, and that who Debora is when you hear it. The guitar, angular, crisp, jagged. You hear it in all the songs. It's back there, and it's the guitar. But Benjamin with the sax, you put those three items together, and Romeo Void's sound is undeniable. You can't sit there and go, who was that? Who? No, I mean, you hear it. It's just like, it's Romeo Void. And Benjamin, when I watched the VH1 Bands Reunited show that you did, God bless him. I mean, he passed away in December, and I felt so bad for him when he couldn't play with you guys because of the hearing tinnitus problems. Number one, that just crushed me to see something like that happen to him and couldn't participate. But now that you've got this Record Store Day release coming up, and there's a lot of attention back on Romeo Void again, and you're doing this kind of thing, God bless Benjamin for really.
Yeah, let's really salute him. He was just a singular talent. Yeah. Honestly, he really was. And he came to us via his job at a deli, and I knew somebody working at the deli, and they were like, oh, you got to meet my friend Benjamin who works here. He's a musician, And so he sat us down at the table, and, it was near closing time, and said, Benjamin's going to come over and join you guys. After, we closed the doors, and so we hung out and stayed and just, kind of became friends. And I wanted to draw him because he's so amazing looking. I was doing this whole series of big oil crayon portraits. And so I was like, oh, I got to draw you. I still have that pencil drawing of the first time we met. The first moments we met. Yeah, not the first day.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That's got to be a wall hanging. That's
Yeah.
Did Romeo Void ever do any shows with the Oingo Boingo? Because when you hear that sax, that's one thing.
I don't remember doing that. I wasn't really that familiar with their sound, because the bands from LA I was listening to, the Weirdos, X, of course, the Zeros, the Bags. I love Alice Bags. She's so cool. I still follow her on Instagram. I wasn't really aware of Oingo Boingo. But you'd always see their posters and how they were playing these, really big venues and doing really well.
And then, of course, they were on MTV with you guys, in rotation with your video.
Right.
If I could go back in time, I would pay a lot of money to have you, Romeo Void, and Oingo Boingo on the same bill, because it would have been so much fun. That's the one thing. Besides the sax, your songs are so much fun, as were they. It would have been a hell of a party.
Yeah.
And you caught the attention of Columbia, which of course major label, and we've had a lot of stories and a lot of people on this show that when you talk about their major label experience, exactly what you did, their little eye roll, and everything seemed to change.
It always does.
But it did produce an incredible top 20 hit with "A Girl in Trouble Is a Temporary Thing," which again, it's very classic Romeo Void. Such a wonderful dance club song of the time as well. But still holds up. It's a great track. But talk about that a little bit. You're now a major label act. With a top 20 hit. Well, what happens with Romeo Void at this point?
Well, we got to go on American Bandstand. That was really awesome. We got to make a video with Julia Hayward, who is the artist behind the Romeo Void video. And we also did a video for Say No, but they never released it because that was the only single they ever released from Instincts.
Right.
Instead of recording in San Francisco and going home at night to your apartment, we went to LA and stayed in hotels while we were recording. That was really different and kind of lonely and weird. I remember being kind of like, is this what it's like? Because you spend all these hours with the band who by this time, what they're going to say in any given situation. Because we've been on tour quite a bit by that time. And, So the recording situation, was kind of a little tense because we were working with David Kahn, who we hadn't worked with since It's a Condition. And he was really conscious of wanting to try to make, a hit, of some sort for us. And he really chose, Girl in Trouble. That was going to be the hit, so there were a lot of different sort of iterations that it went through. But I just remember kind of sitting on the couch and kind of struggling to really get the rhythm of the words right and yet say what I wanted to say. And
so with that track,
I still believe in it. A Girl in Trouble is a temporary thing, and there is a way to walk that says stay away, and a time to go around the long way.
So
sometimes you have to defend yourself, and sometimes you just better avoid that trouble any way you can.
So you had the lyrics working in your head for this. For that track.
Yeah.
Who brought the melody to the table? Who brought the sound to the table? Once again, Benjamin, the sax, da 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 da. Then it just kind of it fades right there. That's the neat thing about that sax part there. You hear that la da 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 da. I
know it's like got the digital delay on.
Yeah, exactly.
And live, we had so much fun with that. Our sound man Louis Beeson, who passed away from AIDS many years ago, he was like the sixth member of the band when we were on tour because we, got some really good sound gear, and he was able to reproduce that when we were performing live. So that was pretty special.
That's a very cool.
My memory must be playing tricks on me because I thought I remember seeing a video for A Girl in Trouble where in the video there's a girl who's pregnant.
No,
that's not. I don't know, and that's
never was a pregnant girl.
I thought that
it never was a pregnant girl.
No, I don't know what I'm thinking of because I thought at the time that's what that song. I thought that's what it meant. A girl in trouble is a temporary thing. Like she can do something about that. It's only temporary until she aborts it. That's what I thought the song was about.
Well, that's pretty literal, but you're not the only one. I just, I like to use a common phrase like never say never. A girl in trouble, everyone thinks they know what that meant. But actually, I had a friend that we called Teen Troublemaker because her name was Christine. And she was always getting in some kind of strange trouble and situation. She was really awesome. She was one of my best friends for a very, very long time. And so she was Teen Troublemaker. And, we would give each other pep talks, her and I, and that was part of the song. And the other part of the song was I was reacting to what I thought was the really cold sentiment behind Billie Jean.
Oh, wow.
The kid is not my son. I just thought, wow, I can't believe he has a hit record for being so cold. I mean, are you really going to say that to somebody? The kid is not my son. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like
I get that.
There you go. So I wanted to say, no, a girl in trouble is a temporary thing. Whatever you're going through, you can get to the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a pep talk.
So you got this hit. It's a top 20 hit. You're on Columbia. You're touring. What happened? What happens? Why does Romeo Void disappear?
Well, I think there were so many different reasons, but part of it was we're sort of running in place. As far as the venues we were playing the same kind of clubs and same size clubs that we were playing before. And some of the things that we thought that would happen when we were on a major label didn't happen. Sort of major ad buys in, like Rolling Stone. I remember my mom asking me, what's going to change? I said, oh, our tour schedule will be in the back of Rolling Stone magazine. Because remember, that's what they used to do, right? Yeah. Well, Columbia never paid for that. So I don't know. It was hard after us spending so much time together too. There is, you get your personality differences. And even though Frank and I are very, very close and started the band together, we were butting heads more than anyone. And part of that was
Yeah.
him and Peter being pretty resentful that everyone always wanted to talk to me, you know, stuff like that. Why does she get all the attention, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah,
I can understand it.
They both called us last week and we said, we're not interested. We're talking to Debora. Then they hung up on us. So
no, I mean, it goes with the territory. The front person always does, especially if it's somebody who doesn't have an instrument. You know, the intentions always. Look at Mick Jagger. Everyone wanted to talk to him. So
yeah, it's just, you know, I don't know. Maybe, you know, familiarity breeds contempt or something. I'm not sure. So we weren't all getting along all that well, and we're kind of running in place. The record label, you know, didn't release a second single, even though we went into debt to record a second video.
Yeah.
You know, and we had booked a tour of Europe, and you know, went over there, and you know, it just seemed like that still nothing was really going to happen when we came back. And we went to Black Rock, which was the building that Columbia was in New York. And we went way up, you know, 20th floor, whatever it was. And all the walls in the hallways were Patti Smythe with I Am the Warrior.
yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, what about our record? Like, we're still out on tour, guys. We've only come halfway across the United States. Now we're still going to go back the other half. But they had already, you know, sort of dissolved our promotion budget. You know, they weren't really going to spend anymore. And we weren't getting met at the gigs, you know, by the local, you know, representatives from the label, or doing in stores, and they weren't really setting up a lot of interviews. That was left to our road manager. You know, and of course Howie had sold us. You know, and we actually were hoping to get signed with Elektra, but Howie wanted to do a deal where whoever bought us bought his entire roster and his label. And so that's what he did. And that was probably partly, you know, Chris Knabb and Queenie Taylor. That was their decision too, because they were co-owners of 415 Records, although he ran it, you know. So you just kind of feel like everything's in everybody else's hands, and you know, this is tough, and it's hard on your personal relationships. When you come home, you're not making any money. You don't get per diem for being at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no, you know, and per diem is sort of what a salary is for a musician. It's not like you're getting money and a per diem. You get a per diem, and that's kind of it. So I don't know.
Well,
I think there's kind of a natural ending to things with bands too sometimes.
Who made the first statement? Like, guys, I think this is it.
Well, Peter announced that he had already been accepted and was going to go to law school.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
After the tour, you know, it was going to start in another month or however long. And so it was like, oh, okay. So this is really it for you and the band. You know, you didn't want to make any more commitments. Yeah. So we had to let him do that, you know, and wish him well.
Sure. Yeah.
But it changed things. And I kind of helped put the nail in the coffin myself too, because at one point the band was not really very nice to me. You know, I mean, I remember during our European tour, we were on the boat going from England to Europe, you know, the ferry. And a bunch of the guys were sitting at a table on the ferry, and I came over and joined the table, and like almost instantly people started leaving the table. Wow. Until I was sitting there by myself. And I was like, oh, great. You know, I'm on tour with all these guys and no one even wants to sit with me. So, well, you know.
Yeah. Tough. I mean,
what does this mean? You know? So then I tried to start looking into doing a solo record, honestly, and I got it my own manager. And I was hoping that I would have an advocate for us to go to counseling. I really pushed us going to counseling.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
Why not?
It worked for Metallica, didn't it? Later, a few years later, they did it and they stayed together, but Romeo Void wasn't having it. No, we're not going to counseling.
Yeah.
Because I thought, a lot of it was communication and just, resentments that never got talked about and, were still held. And on some of our behavior was self-destructive and, drinking and, some drugs and things like that. And we weren't being honest with ourselves, in some ways about the toll that it was taking on us to be a unit and stay on tour and create this thing. And then we kind of get home and lick our wounds with our friends. And it's hard. It's just hard. I remember when we were mixing A Girl in Trouble, they were spending, at least $1,000 a day on the studio, right? But I wasn't getting per diem. We weren't on tour. I was working at a friend of mine's restaurant making sandwiches in the financial district for like $3.65 an hour to pay my rent. And then, going to hear the mixes and doing my vocals, so it wasn't like it was sustaining me economically either.
Yeah. Well, that's it's a story we hear. We hear that story all too often from a lot of our guests.
Major label horror stories. Yeah.
And if you're not in the music business or, somewhere close to it, as David and I are both like that and understand the stories, a lot of people can't comprehend that you've got A Girl in Trouble as a temporary thing on the charts and you're making sandwiches at a restaurant in San Francisco. How's that possible?
Yeah.
But it definitely is. It definitely is. And that's the reality of the harsh music business. It's a business.
Yeah, it is.
It must have been liberating.
I have to show off my dog. See, that's Emmy's there sitting in the sunshine. I don't know if you noticed, but my room got a lot lighter because I am on kind of the east side of the building.
Oh, okay.
Your doggy's not showing his face, but it kind of looks like the same size as my doggy.
Yeah, she's 22 pounds. Little Jack Russell Chihuahua mix.
I got a Chihuahua miniature pincher, Ches, and he's about 20 pounds. So, yeah.
I had a rat terrier before her. I loved her.
Oh, I fostered. My last foster dog was a rat terrier. I foster dogs as well. So,
yeah. Oh, Dottie lived to be 22 years old.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ches, do you hear that? You got to live to be 22, my buddy.
I know. I keep telling my dogs, you guys stay strong because they're both about 10.
So it must have been liberating for you to record Strange Language then.
Yeah. And, Pat Irwin is just amazing. He was a guitar player and the producer of that record. And he had worked with Lydia Lunch, who I knew, kind of socially. And I love the Ray Beats. We played with the Ray Beats a number of times and we sort of hung out with them. And he was partners with Julia Hayward for a while, who did the Girl in Trouble video. And so we had, that sort of family connection with Pat Irwin. And he was really, a wonderful co-songwriter and all that. And so I had, some high hopes about that. And I enjoyed it. I got to say my piece again.
That's one. So the VH1 reunion, when everybody got back together, really was. I mean, what we see on a TV show produced, but it really seemed to be very genuine, and you haven't seen each other for a while, and you're getting together, and it was quite special. Is that the truth behind the show?
Yeah. And they surprised us all along the way. Yeah. When I was meeting someone for the first time, they meet me on camera, I understood that it was going to be this lunch that we were going to talk about the idea of Romeo Void doing something on VH1, or that they were going to revisit Romeo Void in some way. And I was going to talk with somebody thinking it was going to be a writer for the show or something like that, a director or producer, something like that. So I had no idea they were going to show up with cameras and all that. the time for lunch came and went because they were late. So I left the restaurant and just went back to my studio and just, sort of left word saying, well, tell them where I am. I'm over at my studio. So.
Wow.
All of that was, none of that could have even been imagined when we were doing Mabuhay,
Yeah.
I want to kind of circle back to the record real quick.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see it behind me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm getting all these requests for, don't you have pins for sale? I wasn't even thinking about trying to cash in on it myself. But maybe I should make some pins.
Why not?
I want to put it up here so everybody can see it again. There it is, Romeo Void, live from Mabuhay Gardens, November 14th, 1980. It's on Liberation Hall.
It's a great label. I love that label.
1,500 copies pressed for Record Store Day on April 22nd. So if you're a Romeo Void fan, a collector of the great early 80s music, get out to your record store on Record Store Day and say, hey, did you guys get any Romeo Void in? And
and you know what? They can pre-order CDs or digital downloads.
And that's all
shipped or go on sale on the 22nd.
And that's all through is it all through RomeoVoid.com? Can you
No. It's through Bandcamp.
Okay.
Liberation Hall Romeo Void. If you just put that in your browser, Liberation Hall Romeo Void Bandcamp, it takes you right to the page for this. And right away you can order a CD or digital download. So
nice.
We're not trying to not include anyone, but we really do know that vinyl collectors are special.
Oh, sure.
You can see my vinyl collection a little bit.
There you go.
I don't have much of one anymore because my husband sort of absorbed a lot of it too. He collects records. He's got about 15,000 records.
Oh, I need to
He's
meet
an
him.
Audio engineer and music fanatic.
I need to meet him. I have about 15,000, but CDs. I only have 2,000 vinyl 12 inches, but I still need. I got to see that collection. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
How did you meet Pat?
We met on MySpace.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, we met on MySpace. He messaged me when I was in Portland, Oregon, and I was getting my credential and to get my first teaching license at the age of 52. And I was going to be graduating and finishing my internship in about a month when we met on MySpace. So I told him, nothing can happen until after I finish this, because I didn't even have a TV hooked up when I was trying to graduate, because it was hard work going to college, and I went to a really nice college under a tribal educators program, Lewis and Clark, so there was a lot of theory and a lot of, it was very intellectual, academic for me. It was a huge thing to have to write papers, after being a high school dropout, it's like, whoa, now I have to write papers for, get a graduate degree. Okay, let's figure it out. I actually called on my sister to help me because she was teaching 4th grade. And so I said, tell me what you tell your 4th graders, and that will work for me. So she told me how to highlight your first write, to topic sentence and supporting evidence and conclusions and stuff like that. And I did it and I graduated. So anyway, he had finished a program to get his audio engineering certificate. So we were at a similar place in our lives where we were really trying to make change and make a new career and a new way to make money, and yet still love what we did. And so that really brought us together, and we'd talk about music on the phone all the time. He had finished his program in Los Angeles and was living back in Colorado. And I think he was working for his dad. Anyway, I'm pretty sure, and looking for another job doing audio engineering when we met. So he was kind of free to move to the West Coast, which he did after we did meet. And it was interesting because I finished my internship at 3:30 on a Friday. and his plane landed at like 4:15.
Oh, wow.
So I literally drove from my internship right to the airport to meet him.
Oh.
But by then, we felt very simpatico. And the first time after we exchanged a lot of messages on MySpace, I hadn't given my email yet. We hadn't talked on the phone yet. But I remember that first time looking at his picture, and the picture he had posted was him as a little kid sitting at the drums. And then in his pictures on MySpace, he had a picture of himself at a recording console. And I'm like, I like this, and yeah. And so I remember when I was getting ready to close MySpace, in my mind, seriously, this really happened. Today I met the boy I'm gonna marry. I was really hoping, because I didn't want to start dating again.
Yeah.
Because I had lived with somebody for 7 years before I went back to college, and him and I had broken up about a year before I went back to college. So I wasn't with anyone. I wasn't trying to date or anything, but I knew that I would. As soon as I was out of college, I'd like turn the faucet back on. And so I was not looking forward to that at all. And so I was like, oh, good. I met him, and he's awesome, and he's going to save me from internet dating. And he did.
You're very fortunate.
One of the first things we talked about was also animals, because he loves animals, and saw a bunch of pictures of his pets he'd had over the years, and he had a picture of him with his parents and their pets and his Volkswagen Bug. I'm a California girl. We like our Volkswagens.
There you go.
I had a Volkswagen Bug and a bus at different times in my life.
And you've been married how long now?
15 years this summer.
15 years. Congratulations. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing? Tell everybody what you've been doing for the past 10 years, let's say.
I've been teaching high school art. Mm-hmm. And I christened myself, I titled myself the Art 1 Specialist. So I took on all the Art 1 students, thinking if they were going to just take one art class in high school, I would give them a great introduction, because it really is a way of seeing life, and it is a way of getting out your emotions and dealing with stress. And the practicality of having art as an outlet was, I felt very strongly that kids can really benefit from letting your brain have a rest from pressure, and being content creators, learning the power of that over the power of, just being a consumer, especially because cell phones makes, and video games and all that, everyone's consume. And I was like, no, you guys got to get to be creators, because then you get paid, and you become the expert. So I felt like that eye that you have when you look at art or talk about art, you can talk about sports figures with the same kind of languages of evaluation, because how I had them evaluate art was, is it a good idea? Did they take their time? How did they use their materials? Would you buy it? All those kind of things. I'd have them think about their art or art they were looking at that way. Was it a good idea? It was really always number one. So I wanted to pass that on. And also I thought kids would probably not necessarily ever meet somebody like me, because I was a little bit, as the principal who hired me said, she's kind of out there. She told the lead teacher that, well, this one, I think she's going to get along great with the kids, but she's kind of out there. And so we're like, okay, well, you might have to really sort of help her along, because,
Well, being out there is not a temporary thing, and that's a good thing. We like people who are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what age groups were you teaching?
High school, 9th through 12th.
All right.
So the kids who'd never taken an art class and finally had to get that under their belt, I would see them when they were seniors. And I tell them, listen, when you're studying for an exam, or when you're have to take a test the next day, sit down and draw for an hour before you do it. Let this be an outlet for you. I had somebody who ended up getting a really great scholarship to a really nice college, and she took it to heart, because she told me probably within the first 2 weeks of class, I didn't really want to take this class. They made me. I said, okay, well, I hope you can still get something out of it, and I'm going to try to make sure you do. And by like Christmas time, she was like, I'm painting every time I'm trying to write a paper.
And
I was
to
like,
be able to reach students is such a gift. I was lucky enough to have it happen a few times. It was tough. I was teaching an academic class, so and a lot of people had to take it. I taught mostly the intro to psych, so everyone was taking it. It was a requirement, and so it's hard to reach people there. But I know how it felt, and it's a gift. It really is. So glad you were able to do that.
Did you ever? And honestly, a lot of the kids that thrived in art were, what do they call it? It's like neurologically different, like autistic,
challenged, or
like autistic or Asperger's. They're amazing. People who have emotional problems, they do amazing in art. So a lot of kids who weren't thriving in other ways, or just the discontentedness, the trans kids, some of those gangbangers are just really talented, and they see the world in a whole interesting way that I remember telling them, you need to tell the world your story. You have a voice, and I can see it in your art. And they would do these amazing drawings in ballpoint pen. And I'd say, well, why don't you pick up a paintbrush once in a while, or oil crayons? They're like, I have my look. I do ballpoint pen drawings, usually on ruled paper. And I would accept that. Okay, that's what you do. Let's, give it to me. You can do everything great in any material. It's, do you have the idea?
That's an interesting point when you say, and we every show we do of Material Issues, I seem to learn something. Just a little thing that you say when you say they see the world differently, and many times you don't
neurologically divergent.
Well,
neurodivergent. That's the word.
That works. Many times you have to stop yourself and think that the person that you may think's a little bit different or off or not acting or whatever it may be, they don't see the world exactly as
they're going to be the innovators.
Yeah, it's
problem solving from making connections in a different way.
And everybody has their own way, and everybody has their own struggles, and you don't know anything about anybody until you let it be and learn what it's all about. So that's awesome. That's what's great about Material Issues. We learn this stuff all the time from our great guests. Lisa Michaels checked in. She's listening from the car.
Hi, Lisa.
She's a great musician too.
Great. Cool.
Great singer-songwriter. By the way, this was a complete accident, but this is our 99th episode. So we want to dedicate this episode to your song 99.
Yeah, living on the 99.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys we probably should wrap it up.
It's all good. We
had such a great talk, but thank you so much for being interested and asking for my time and making this time for me on your show. It's a whole different world out here that I didn't really know about, is the podcast and this kind of thing that's YouTube, and then it'll be streaming later. And it's pretty exciting, and it gives so much room for dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Which is back in the day, it was much more, you'd talk to a writer and then you didn't know what would happen with the interview.
Right. Yeah.
This is different than that.
The world needs more dialogue in every way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Team Ellen. Anybody wants to say hi and get a hi from me, do it now, because I've been kind of ignoring those because I'm trying to focus on what we're saying. But
well, we thank you so much for being on the show as well, Debora. I can tell you, I was so excited, when you originally said you would do it, because Romeo Void was a very big part of the soundtrack of the early '80s for me and my life, and still to this day, I love the music, and thank you for the gift of that, because that will go on. That'll go on for much
it has
longer than we are.
autonomy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it really does. It really
and
does.
this moment in time that's captured on the record, it has its own autonomy too, and it teaches me things that I didn't know, just from traveling back to that time. So Romeo Void was there from the start, once we connected. And that's why it was always really important for me to keep the integrity of the band, and not just get a bunch of musicians and call it Romeo Void and then I'm the lead singer. I just never really wanted to do that.
Right.
Live from Mabuhay
That's it.
Gardens, coming out April 22nd, Record Store Day, brand new vinyl on blue vinyl from Romeo Void. And then Bandcamp, Liberation Hall, you can get CD and the digital downloads. Debora, thank you so much for being.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. You guys were delightful.
It was so great meeting you, Debora. And thank you for your insights and your history and your music very much.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Bye, guys. Bye, David. Bye, Mark.
There we go. Material Issues episode number 99 is in the books.
Yeah, such a great lady. Oh, thank you, Lisa.
I mean, just again, I can't reiterate enough how big Romeo Void was for me. You always have those albums.
You had all the memorabilia and the memories of the shows you attended.
You have those songs, you have those albums, you have those groups that pop up at a certain time in your life for a certain reason. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that moment at Danceteria when I first heard "Never Say Never." It really just made me go, what is this?
Striking song, that's for sure.
Striking song, and then following everything they did after that, and Debora's solo albums, and now this great live album coming out April 22nd. So just fantastic guest. She's a wonderful lady. And everything she's done throughout her career, she's just got nothing but, just a positive energy to her. So I'm grateful. I'm very grateful.
That is palpable. Absolutely.
Well, my friend, what else we got going on here? I know the next week is our 100th show. We're kind of kicking things around a little bit.
Hey, Lisa, if you're still with us, do you want to appear on our 100th show next Wednesday at it would be 6 p.m. your time. We want to bring some people back who had been guests and reminisce a little bit and have some fun. So if you want to be on, please let us know.
Yeah, we're thinking of having a few people on. Oh, there's a yes.
Oh yeah, all right. Well, I'll get a hold of you and we'll make sure to make it happen.
We thought we'd get some of our friends and former guests on and just chat about the first 99 episodes and play a little music trivia and have a good time with everybody. So I'd look forward to that, Lisa. Thanks. But yeah, we got a couple of things going on. I know May 3rd, we have a guest coming on. We've got Kevin Hefner from Historic Autographs Company, which is a very cool company that gets some of the neatest autographs, and they do a lot of the collectible cards, which include autographs or memorabilia. Right now, they've got a historical line that actually has locks of hair embedded in the card, and there's like Alexander Hamilton, Abraham Lincoln. So it's going to be kind of neat to talk to him about how
you can have whatever this is worth.
A lock of David Bash's
whatever's left, yeah.
a shaving of skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a material issues party. That's right, Lisa.
Absolutely. That's what we want for episode 100.
So that'll be great. That's coming up May 3rd. Kevin Hefner of Historic Autographs Company. We'll talk to him about all that. And again, always got irons in the fire. We've got some things.
I was talking about, I've been talking about the member of the why am I cast, thank you, David, of one of the most iconic comedies of all time. He and I are Facebook friends, and I've sent him a message to this effect, and he hasn't read it. And I even posted on his page, please read your messages. And he liked the post, and he still hasn't read the message. So I don't know. I'm hoping I can get a hold of him. He would be a great guest. I don't want to say the name of the movie, but everybody knows it and many people love it. So hopefully we get him on board, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We definitely will always have irons in the fire. And do you want to play a Stump the Bash?
Are you up for it? And we can.
I don't know that we'll do one next week, and I don't know what'll happen the week after because I'll be in Chicago. So it may have to be you and somebody else. We'll see how that goes. But
we're gonna do Stump the Bash Light, which means you've already asked the 5 of the years, so we're just going to play the other. Let's just do the other 6.
It's not really like it's the same number as last week. The questions years that I didn't choose. So
let's do all 6, and if you have to get 18 points instead of 15 because it's average of 3.
Okay,
right? I mean, it's still average of 3.
I can try.
So we did 1965. So that one's off the table.
Wait, the song. We need the song.
What's that?
The song. The theme song.
Oh, hold on. Oh, thank you. Hold on. We don't put all this time, effort, and money and not play the theme song. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for
Stump the Bash. Stump the Bash. Stump the Bash. Stump the Bash.
There it is. It's time for Stump the Bash. It's not Stump the Bash Light. It's Stump the Bash. We're going to play 6 questions. The remaining questions from last week's chart position number 30.
Which were the years that I need to do now?
Well, we're gonna do 1966. We're gonna do 67. We're gonna do 69. We're gonna do 70.
Not with me, you won't.
But I'm bumped. 71, 72, and 73.
All right, so we have 3 of each decade. Nice.
Yes, 3 of each decade. Is there a certain year you'd like to start off? 66, 79, 71?
I think I started off with a 70s year last week. So let us start with a 60s year. We'll do 1967.
1967, number 30. I think you'll knock it out of the park with some of these remaining ones. But this track was first released as a non-album single by this group in July of 1967 on the Parlophone Capital label.
Parlophone Capital?
Yeah.
Parlophone Capital. Well, I got... in the U.S., Parlophone Capital?
Yeah, well, Capital is probably the best way to describe it in the U.S. I guess the slash mark was UK US, but Capital.
Well, I'll have to go with "Strawberry Fields Forever" by the Beatles.
No, it is not.
Okay.
No, it is not. Question clue number 2 for 4 points. The songwriter later attributed the song's simple lyrical statements to his liking of slogans and television advertising. He likened the song to a propaganda piece.
Penny Lane by the Beatles?
It is not.
No?
It is not. No.
Yeah, I'm getting thrown off by this Parlophone Capital thing, but okay.
Well, I mean, number 3. 3 points.
They weren't album tracks yet, so.
Non-album single, yeah. The song starts with the first few bars of the French national anthem, Les Marseillais, and contains elements from other musical works such as Glenn Miller's 1939 hit In the Mood.
Would that be All You Need Is Love by the Beatles?
That is All You Need Is Love for 3 points.
Okay, well, I obviously I knew the group. Probably anybody would have, but just didn't get the right single.
It's all right. You got 3
and,
points.
Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane, which of course were A and B sides of the same record. They both charted really huge in the U.S. So could have been any of them. But
could have been any of them.
Probably, if I was John Borak would know exactly what month those songs were released, and so would a lot of Beatles fans. I love the Beatles; they're my second favorite band. but I don't know everything about them. So I should have heard July and said, no, it can't be those, but whatever.
All right.
3, so I'm okay.
Well, that was 1967. 3 points. You're on the average. You're good. Where are we headed?
Right. So let me check that one off. Let's go with 1972.
1972. This is chart position number 30. Here we go. 5 points. This song, released in December of 1971, spent 3 weeks at number 3 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and hit number 1 on Cashbox Top 100 in 1972 on the Carousel Rocky Road Records label.
Wow. I was thinking of another song, but that was 70, 71, so I was thrown off. Can I hear that clue again?
Yep. Released in December of 71, it spent 3 weeks at number 3 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and hit number 1 on Cashbox Top 100 in 1972 on the Carousel Rocky Road Records label.
Carousel, and that's the U.S.? Wow. I don't even... That sound, I mean, that's like a budget label as far as I remember, and I'm surprised that they had a single, but bleh, bleh, bleh. So is this to say that this song never hit number 1 on Billboard?
I'm going to say it's saying it never hit number 1 on Billboard. It climaxed at number 3.
Climaxed, eh?
I'm just nice usage of a word there. I don't know where it came from.
Carousel Rocky Road. Oh, I'm gonna kill myself when I find out what this is. Because that sounds like a UK budget label, but I'm obviously not right. So and that was in December. Okay.
Released
I thought I was going to knock it out of the park, but I had the wrong year. I was thinking it might have been Gypsy Woman by Brian Hyland, but that's 70, 71. So that doesn't work. So now I have to think of 71, 72, and I'm trying to think of songs that split their WABC Top 100 charts, and I'm not coming up with one, so maybe it didn't do that. I should know this because that label should be giving it away to me, and it isn't. What songs were really big at the end of 71 and moved into? Well, there's one that I think I could think of, but I think it went to number 1. And I don't think it was on this label either, but it's probably not right, but Brand New Key by Melanie? No. That should be on Buddha, I think. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. Clue number 2 for 4 points. And now, for whatever reason, I'm just looking at the next couple of clues here. They're very long-winded. So sit back, relax on this clue number 2. Initially, nothing came of the newly recorded single. It was stored in the Bell Records archives for a couple of years, but was dusted off after a Bell executive heard it being played on a Santa Barbara radio station. Bell Records subsidiary Carousel released the record in Hawaii as a test 6 months prior to being a hit on the mainland. After more market tests in Buffalo and Boston in early 72, the record gained momentum quickly. By the week ending February 26, 1972, it had peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, spending 2 weeks at that position, and then hit number 1 on Cashbox Top 100.
All right, so I guess I misunderstood. I thought the song had been number 3 in December.
No. It was released in December of 71.
That changes things. I think I know it now. Precious and Few by Climax.
Yes, it is. It's Precious and Few. And I mistakenly said Climax at number 3.
That didn't even register. You know why? Because again, I was thinking the song was number 3 in December, and I knew
it must have been deep in my head, and I said it climaxed at number 3.
I was
thinking to myself,
now I do remember the label. Okay.
Yeah. Oh crap! I just planted Climax in his head.
No, if you did, it was completely unconscious. I really didn't think of that. It was.
Well, there you go. 4 points. You're back above the average. Now you can breathe a little easier. There you go.
Back to the 60s.
I came all the way through my speakers. Oh, what did you have? Ketchup, potato chips?
No such luck. Let me see.
Where are we going?
So we did 67 and 72.
Yep.
Now we will go with 66.
66, chart position number 30. He's looking to hit one out of the park. All right. This was a song written by, not very much clue-wise in this one here. Sorry. A song written by Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich for their group, Greenwich, for their group, The Raindrops. Originally written by Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich for their group, The Raindrops.
Well, I know a couple of Raindrop songs, but they're earlier than 66. What could it be, though? Yeah, this should be a giveaway, but
just trying not to give it away by saying part of the name in my next clue or something.
Yeah, please don't. Of course, I don't have the label here, so I can't use that.
No. But
this should be a song that is kind of like what the Raindrops would have done.
Yeah, it's an interesting first clue. I mean, I did not know that it was originally written for their group, The Raindrops. That's a great thing about this. You learn some things about these songs. Yeah, Lisa, we're
going to ask John. Yeah,
ask John to get on as well,
and Bruce Brodeen and Jackie Fox to come back. We'll do a little trivia. The boy I can't forget I believe is the Raindrops hit, but that's not the song. But what would it be? What would they have written that somebody would have had a big hit with? I should know this, but it's not coming to me. So,
all right, we're going to go to clue number 2 for 4 points. A 1964 recording by this band was later reissued in 1966 under the band's new and more successful incarnation.
Oh.
It's the best known version, reaching number 1 in the United States in 1966.
Oh, man. So they had a different name in 64.
Yeah. And released it in 66 under the band's new and more successful incarnation.
I think this song is earlier, but is it Sweet Talking Guy by the Chiffons?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
All right. Clue number 3 for 3 points. This is not going to give you a whole lot, but it will give you the label. It was released on the Snap Roulette label with the B-side Thunderbolt.
Snap Roulette?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Hanky Panky by Tommy James and the Shondells?
You snuck 3 points out of that.
I did. Okay.
Yes, you did. Hanky Panky by Tommy James and the Shondells.
Yeah, I had forgotten that Barry Greenwich wrote that, so that wouldn't have helped.
You're
all right.
You're still ahead of the. You're still
hanging in there.
Ahead of the average. Yeah,
but I need the 5-pointer. And
you need something to really,
my brain's
really take the heat off.
Right.
Yes.
Well, let's see. So now we've got 3 more years, and wait, what do I have? 10 points.
You are at 10 points right now.
All
you only need 8.
I need 8 and 3. All right. Well, the last year that's left is 1973, so we'll go with that right now.
Let's go with 1973. I have a feeling this one will probably be really good for you. However, I'm just saying that because I haven't even looked at the clues yet. So,
oh wow,
1973 chart position number 30. This song was released on the A&M label in April of 1973 with the B-side Josie, and reached number 6 on the U.S. Billboard charts.
Released in April?
April of 1973. It reached number 6 on the U.S. Billboard charts.
Well, let me think. No, they wouldn't have had a. No, I don't think it would have. I don't think this song got quite as high, but April. All right, so Debora Iyall. Trying to think of what would have been on A&M at that time. Lots of stuff. Obviously, their biggest group, but I don't think it's them. And I don't think it's the one I'm thinking of because I don't know the song Josie, and that doesn't sound like a title this group would use. So, who was on A&M besides who I'm thinking of? I don't know. This is probably wrong, but Conquistador by Procol Harum.
Oh, what a great guess, but no,
I don't think it hit that high, and that's 72 anyway. So I'm all messed up. All right. Never mind.
Pretty cool guess though. I love.
Nah, it's a shitty guess. It's
Tim Allen says he knows it, but don't say anything, Tim. Keep it
right.
quiet.
Well, if you have the 45 and you know the B-side, you're in good shape. But I probably don't.
All right, clue number 2 for 4 points. Still in good shape. The lyrics are a dismissive tale of a music industry cocktail party, written and performed as a parody of Bob Dylan's style. The vocal impression, subject, and styling were so similar, listeners have wrongly attributed the song to Dylan since its release.
Oh, Stuck in the Middle with You by
Gosh darn it, 4 points. There you go. 4 points. You've just catapulted yourself back into.
Okay, yeah, I know the song Josie by Steelers Wheel. All right. But I never thought it was Bob Dylan. I'm sure I didn't know who did it before I heard the song. But whatever the first time I heard it, I never would have thought it was Dylan. But I get where people are coming from.
Yeah. I'm still impressed that you weren't really sure about what it was with the A&M label. And just because that second clue with the Bob Dylan-esque, I mean, you got Stuck in the Middle with You, Steelers Wheel.
I've either read or heard before that people had thought that. So
you've retained it. Yeah.
All right. So what do I have? 14?
You are at 14.
So now
you need an average of 2.
I need 4 points and 2. Well, I hope to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we've got 69 and 71 left. We will go with 1969.
1969 for the win. There we go.
Maybe. Yeah, if I get 4, I already win. Yeah. All right.
Here we go. This song was written by Teddy Randazzo, Bobby Weinstein, and Bobby Hart. And this version reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 in September of 1969.
Well, obviously Bobby Hart of Boyce and Hart, who wrote Many a Monkey's Tune. They both, together they wrote Many a Monkey's Tune.
Yep.
I don't think this is a Monkey's Tune because I don't think anything that late would have reached number 12. But I think I already guessed this one. Not that, I mean, I already guessed the song that popped in my head on another Stump the Bash, so I don't think it's that. But I'm pretty sure that song finished at number 12. You said Teddy Randazzo. Who was the other writer?
Bobby Weinstein and Bobby Hart.
And it was released, and it was number 12 in September
of 69.
Wow, and it ended up making number 30 for the year. Holy crap.
Must have hung around.
Yeah, I know.
Hung around the top 20, lower parts of the top 20.
That's interesting, but I don't know it yet.
All right, clue number 2 for 4 points. It was originally a top 10 hit in 1965 with a different artist, and a top 10 hit in 1980 by yet another artist.
Okay. That should be giving it to me. You said 65 and 1980?
65 and 1980.
Wow.
And don't ask me what those artists were because I didn't write it down.
Well, I'm sure that would give it away. And I don't think that should be a 4-pointer. But 1980 should give it away also. And they were both top 10, you said?
It's what I got. Originally a top 10 in 1965 and in 1980 with different artists.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
But
it's only 15 years though.
Damn, this should be a slam dunk, but it isn't coming to me. 1980, 1965. Oh no, that's not right. No, not coming to me. Let's go. Let's move on.
All right, clue number 3 for 3 points. This one won't give you too much, unfortunately, so we're going to get a little tight here.
No.
This version was released on the Capitol label with the B-side Catch the Wind.
Well, Catch the Wind was a Donovan song, so this is a band who probably specialized in covers, and we know this is a cover because you said it was a hit in 65 as well. And it's on Capitol. Well, who would have? Driving me nuts here. I bet Tim Allen knows this one too.
He commented on the previous one. He said he knew the B-side from Steelers Wheel.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you had the record, which I don't think I ever had that 45. I think I bought the album first.
Wow, this could get a little tight here.
It's getting tight.
And there will be no jokes.
But please tell me it's not Time It's Tight, but I'm not guessing that. But wait, so 65, 69, and 1980. It's on Capitol. And it was in September.
Yeah.
So all of this should be enough. But for some reason it isn't. And I know I'm going to go, oh my God, once I find out. But not coming to me yet.
All right, clue number 2 for 2 points. It's going to be tight. I love this clue, though. This version was recorded by an American pop trio featuring an original member whose niece is my neighbor.
Original member whose niece is your neighbor?
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever told me this.
I might have.
Wait, so read the whole clue again. Let me see.
This version was recorded by an American pop trio featuring an original member whose niece is my neighbor.
Nah, that's not going to do it for me. I don't know. I hope I even get 1 point on this.
The final clue, 1 point. The most successful version of this song was recorded by Linda Ronstadt for her 1980 album, Mad Love.
Oh. And now I forgot which. She did so many covers. Wow, I have a feeling I'm going to miss this one completely.
Might get shut out on this
I just bought Mad Love not long ago, and I've heard it, and it's still not coming to me what song this is.
So she obviously took it to the top 10 from...
No, I know she had a lot of hits with covers at that time, and I'm thinking about some of the covers she's done, and no, we're going to get a 0 on this.
All right, he's taking a 0. He's going to top out right now at 14 points with one more song to go. But the song was Hurt So Bad by the Lettermen.
All right. I'm not too upset that I missed that.
And Tony Butala's niece is my neighbor.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. There you
Which
go.
is kind of cool because I guess a couple years ago when I met her, we're talking music because Smash Palace Butler,
Steve
Butler was walking his dog across the street, and I was talking to Beth, and I said, "Oh, it's Steve Butler, Smash Palace, Quincy." I was telling her everything, and she's like, "Oh yeah, my uncle is Tony Putala. He was in the Letterman." I was like,
Wow.
huh?
No.
And she was like, "They were something, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they were. They had some stuff."
Yeah, they just skirted the line between soft pop and adult pop.
Yeah.
And so some of their albums actually from the like 67 and 68 are pretty cool. But Hurt So Bad, I obviously have heard it. I knew they did it, but it's not something I heard at the time. And I'd forgotten Linda Ronstadt did that song. So
it surprised me when it popped up and I had to get some clues with it.
Number 30, though. Wow.
It made number 30, yeah.
Number 30. Well, now I need 4 points on this one.
So you need it on the first clue or the second clue.
Well, we're talking 1971, so I mean that's my wheelhouse. So I hope to do it.
You got this under control. I have complete faith in you in this one. Here we go. Clue number 1 for 5 points and not to be stumped. This is a 1969 song written by Bonnie Bramlett and Leon Russell, with a songwriting credit also given to Delaney Bramlett. That has been a hit for many artists in different genres and interpretations in years since.
Well, could be a lot of things, but is it Only You Know and I Know by Delaney and Bonnie?
It is not. It is not.
All right,
here we go.
If I don't get it now.
Question number 2 for 4 points. This version was released on A&M Records in August of 1971 with the B-side, Bless the Beasts and the Children.
Well, obviously I know that song. So now we're talking about 71 in what year? No. I mean, what month?
August of
71. Well, I'm now that I know, I know which song it is because I now remember that who wrote it. It's Superstar by the Carpenters.
You would think that we almost stumped David Bash, but he gets 18 points in total, and he is not stumped on a big 6-question night here on Material Issues.
If I had picked those 5 years, if we only did 5 and I picked those 5 years, I would have been stumped. But I don't think I would have.
Nope.
I don't know what. Well, I probably would have picked 69 though. So, but we knew what this was going in, and I made it.
I was
skin of my teeth.
Skin of your teeth. I was thinking you might. I don't know. I figured you might not get it here.
Well, thankfully, I knew that B-side.
Yeah.
Bless the Beasts and Children is one of my favorite movies. Have you seen it?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen it.
I mean, I certainly could identify with all those misfit kids. I was a bedwetter, and I'm not ashamed to say, until I was about 11. You used a little. Thank you, Tim. Used a little opera and classical conditioning. My parents they had a device with a metal sheet that was a metal flat that was put under my sheets. And when I would pee on it, this really loud alarm would go off. I mean, like,
wow.
And after about 2 weeks of using that, it conditioned my bladder. Didn't want to be frightened. So I was Pavlov's bash.
No wonder you went into psychology, right?
Yeah, there you go. So I identified with a Goodenow character, and I would have loved to have had a guy like Cotton around, basically tell me, you're okay.
Okay.
I didn't really have people like that. I had friends, but it's tough. I mean, being a bedwetter and then having to be in a tent with a bunch of other kids and dreading that you're going to pee and they were going to smell all the ammonia.
Oh yeah.
Which they did. And it was not fun for a little while. But I identify, and of course, our good friend, Bill Mooney, was actually very, very cool in that.
Yeah.
In that movie. His character Teft is like, it's one to be admired. And all the adjusted kids who were assholes and the whole bit. So I will, so I know Bless the Beasts and the Children. Or bedwet. Well, I feared my dad. I can tell you that. I mean, not that he would beat the shit out of me or anything, but he had the loudest voice. I mean, he did spank me a lot. Back then, you got spanked. There's the idea of like not touching your kid. If you mention that, the other parents would have said, "What are you, crazy?"
Yeah.
You got to keep them in line. And of course, some dads were very abusive to their kids, especially their sons. Would knock them around really good. You read like Joe Pepitone's book and what his dad did to him, which was unconscionable.
True, yeah.
But back then, parents hit, they smacked their kids around a little bit. But my dad had we had him on the show. He's 90, so you can't tell. But when he was in his 30s and early 40s,
yeah,
he had a very, very authoritative, strong, loud voice, and he was scary. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, I was scared of a lot of things, Lisa. So I'm sure my bedwetting was a response to some kind of fear that I hadn't dealt with. But thank God for classical conditioning with that device. Michael Landon was also a bedwetter. He used to talk about that a lot. I'm trying to remember who else. There was an actress of more recent vintage who had that issue, and I can't remember who it was. For some reason, you think of it as a male issue. I don't know why. I think it happens to girls also. But anyway, so Bless the Beast and the Children means a lot to me. So thankfully, you gave me the B-side on that one.
Okay, I'll give it to you. Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure I would have gotten it without that. Maybe I would have, because I now remember. In fact, I even bought a Delaney and Bonnie album that has their version of Superstar on it.
Yeah.
Did you know there were 3 songs on the charts that year called Superstar? In 71? I mean,
there was the Carpenters. There was.
Now, this is a bit of a conditional question, I guess, because Jesus Christ Superstar was actually called Superstar, not Jesus Christ Superstar.
All right.
And then there was the Temptations Superstar, and then in parentheses, because a lot of soul records have parentheses, I think it was you need to get where you. I forgot whether it was something about getting where you are. That hit number 30, around number 30. So yeah, three top 40 songs called Superstar.
What year was the Hudson Brothers Superstar? Was that 70?
Oh, So You Are a Star?
Yeah, So You Are. Oh, So You Are a Star. That's right.
74. I got that within 5 seconds.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
That's going to be, my brother Joel came up with a variation on Stump the Bash where Mark will give me songs that made the top 100, but he won't tell me the year. I have to guess the year, and I have to do it within 5. So this is a speed round. I got to do it within 5 seconds. If I guess it wrong, I don't get a second shot. And if I don't guess it at all, I'm wrong also. So that could be fun. We could do that.
We'll work on that one. Yeah,
so
work on that for next week. Wow, yeah.
And I love Superstar by the Carpenters. It reminds me of a girl I had a really mad crush on named Nancy. And I remember one day in math class, we didn't sit near each other, but I remember one day I had to pass out the test paper or whatever it was. And I remember going up to her table, and I wanted to make a good impression. I don't know exactly what I was going to do, but I didn't make the best impression because I was looking at her and she just kind of glared me into a puddle. Like, get away from me. So that wasn't fun. Anyways, but I would think about her when I'd hear that song.
You also talk about punishments. It makes me laugh a little. My brother was, and I'm not like trying to out my brother, but he was a thumb sucker. And I remember my parents used to put this liquid, like stuff. It was almost like a liquid glue, but it would dry. And then if he sucked his thumb, it would burn the heck out of his mouth. I mean, like really, like a fireball by burning.
Yeah, there you go. Same principle behind the bedwetting.
Same principle. But I also remember my dad. He was cruel in some ways because when I was a kid, if I got in trouble, we would get the belt. He'd bend you over and hit you with the belt on your butt. But the way he did it was like if you got in trouble, he'd be like, "All right, you know what you're going to get," and we knew it was coming. But he would make us walk in front of him up the steps to the bedroom. where he would sit on the bed, bend you over his knee, and whack you with the belt. But that walk up the steps was like the Green Mile. It was like every step, and you tried to go slow, because you knew it was coming, and he didn't say a word, and it was quiet.
Oh my
and
God.
You'd walk up the steps, and you'd start to sweat profusely, and then making the right at the top of the steps to go into his bedroom, and then you had to sit on the bed while he unloosened his belt, slowly took it off like taking a sword out of a sheath, and it was all that whole lead up was worse than the actual.
I bet.
Actual
No, I mean, that's it's normally the anxiety of it all, was worse than getting, at least you get it over with. You didn't have to say thank you, sir. May I have another?
No,
thankfully you weren't a Chip Diller in Animal House.
I remember that very vividly.
I'm sure you do. Every kid who got hit or spanked or whatever, you don't forget.
No.
I mean, and it does actually, and of course, well, my dad never said this, but you'd see this on TV all the time. This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it won't.
Bullshit.
Because even if it hurts you emotionally, it's hurting the kid physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
Oh, the paddle at principal. Tim, were you at a private school or, of some kind? Because that's where they used to do that.
Oh, I had a teacher that had the it almost looked like a cricket bat, and it was hanging right by the blackboard. And if you acted up, you'd go up in the front of the class, and you'd get like 3 whacks in front of everybody, and that was almost worse than the actual pain of the paddle was standing in front of everybody.
Well, like in the movie Dazed and Confused, in the movie Dazed and Confused, that was the ritual of kids entering high school. They got paddled by the seniors.
Yeah,
and it was with that kind of. In fact, I'll bring this in because this is very cool. Although unfortunately, it's kind of broken, which is why Joel gave it to me.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you got it on eBay from the Kutztown School District that I went to. Still has some skin on it from.
If you remember Dazed and Confused, the asshole O'Banion had this paddle.
Yeah.
The fuck you. And Joel got this from someone on eBay, and it turned out to be broken. I put some tape on it, which is barely holding it together. But this is really cool.
Yeah, that's funny. That's great.
But we didn't have that ritual, thankfully, and I don't recall any teacher in my school having a paddle. That must have been, at least you didn't get that in front of everyone. That would have been so freaking embarrassing. They would always take you into an office.
No,
if it was a teacher in the class, though, then you would get it in front of everyone.
Yep. Right. You didn't have to drop your pants or anything, but you still got.
Who wants to have that happen in front of all?
Still got humiliated in front of everybody.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I remember those.
Wow. Yeah, I mean the kids of today, they hear that their parents or their grandparents got hit by their parents. They can't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm mad. I don't know. I mean, do parents these days even touch their kids that way?
I don't think so.
I mean,
no.
I mean, in all honesty, some of the things that kids got from their parents back then, if that happened today, the kids would be snatched out of the house by social services, and the parent would probably go to jail.
The kids themselves would be calling social services.
Oh, that's true. They would,
and they'd be like, "I got it all on video. I have the proof."
Right. Yeah, their brother or sister took a video of the whole thing. Wow, yeah, that's true. Oh my God, what a different time we live in.
Oh yes, indeed.
Speaking of time, we have gone a long time. And,
speaking of time, I can't wait. Maybe by next episode, I've got 2 cool watches on the way.
Oh wow, good for you.
Haven't bought a watch in a while. I got one that is like, holy shit. I mean, it looks, hopefully.
Well, I hope you get them by then. Meanwhile, I've got my fave on today. Nothing will ever beat the Longines moon phase that I got in Liverpool last May. It is, and it's so accurate, and it's got all these different complications. It's really just something special.
Very cool.
So anyway, all right, well, cool. This was so much fun with Debora, and then with Stump the Bash, and with everything else. So
great night, great
2 hours.
2 hours, yes, and we'll be back next week for episode number 100. We're going to have some of our friends on.
Hopefully, we know Lisa will do it. Hopefully, John will be. John has to work at that time, so maybe he can arrange ahead of time to at least be on a little while.
Yeah.
And we'll see who we can get, and we'll do a big Zoom, big StreamYard thing.
Big StreamYard thing. It'd be awesome. All right, my friends. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us here on Material Issues. You can always check out the archives on materialissues.com on YouTube and right here on Facebook. So we'll see you next week. Cheers. Be happy. Be healthy.
Everyone have a great. Thank you, Lisa.
Right,
you
Lisa.
too. Say hi to Tom and the kids. And everyone have a great rest of your week and weekend. And we'll see you next Wednesday.
Right here on